I like that you said that's the fun part for you, because in a similar vein, why I'm even doing this interview segment series is I want to go back to what's fun for me.
Okay, I feel
And
that, yeah.
just having conversations with people that I find interesting, that's always been fun for me. And which actually is a great segue. I wanted to make sure I did this once again because I did it in the other interview we did, and just give you your flowers, and you being the guy that told me that I should do this. You told me that
Thank you,
years
bro.
ago, and you know I never considered it until you suggested it, and I never forget that. It is part of why, like, when I'm starting back up again, one of my first thoughts is like, I gotta get back. I gotta get back
And
in.
that's why I told you we need that. That shit is necessary. Even when I told you back then, because it's a necessary part of our hip hop and our culture to have historians, people who are gonna tell the stories, who are paying attention, who, you know, it's an unbiased opinion. You know what I mean? It's just like this from the spectator, from the outside looking in, when we get to have somebody who tells the history of our culture
And that's
accurately.
I appreciate you saying that, because I try to keep it unbiased, because I'm not in it for the clout. It's more anthropology for me.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. We gotta keep that timeline, the history going, because
Yeah.
what if it gets lost? We see what happened when history gets lost, and then you don't know where you come from, and you don't know who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think in the Hudson County music scene, I think some of that is happening. People don't remember how big the scene is and how long people have been in it. But then also people, have stopped being in it.
I also want to say that people also sometimes get too absorbed in it,
That's a fact. Okay.
in being locally in a scene. So for me, I like to separate myself from anything that has to do with like that. Because that was for me when I was coming up doing certain things. It's like that could limit you in a way where you don't realize that there's a bigger world. There's more states, there's other countries, there's other listeners, there's different people that listen to different types of music. And it's like getting stuck on hood politics and politics of like local, it's almost like a underground mainstream. It's like,
Okay, I get that.
it's like it doesn't make sense to do something like that, you know?
People get upset with that underground mainstream feeling.
Hey, listen, I feel like that it doesn't make sense. It's like how we acting like them.
Right. So that's an interesting segue, because then I've been curious to ask, since I've been following as of late, how is the Brooklyn scene feeling like? Because I've seen you
Brooklyn?
in Brooklyn and in Philly.
Yeah, I'm in Philly a lot. I'm in Philly a lot. Um, New York has a big hip hop scene. New York in general, not just like the boroughs. Like you go upstate, New York's hip hop scene is busting right now, and there's a lot of people that play pivotal roles in that. And there's a lot of artists that are coming up that are legendary in that scene, right? That people here in Jersey don't even understand or know about. It's like if you're in hip hop and you're from New Jersey and you claim to be on some hip hop shit, like how we on, like we're for the culture, you should know about that, because what they're doing is what we're supposed to be doing too. You know what I'm saying? There's like more platforms. We haven't had many, if any, platforms in New Jersey or in this area or anything like that to talk to these artists or build up artists or new stages, new places, new things. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't really happen like that. And people gotta leave. You gotta leave New Jersey, you gotta go to New York, you gotta talk to the radio station in New York, you gotta talk to the person who's throwing the event at SOBs and Webster Hall and all these other dope venues. You gotta talk to these people who from another place, from another state, and they're gonna give it to their people, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This is what it is. And you either get in or you don't. And I feel like independently we should be building that up as our own culture, you know what I'm saying? But unbiasedly, and be able to travel and get out and see the rest of the world. People get caught up on local shit and local politics that it closes your mind to the fact that like you don't even have to be here anymore. You could go live in Cali and still make music and do other shows and do other things, you know what I'm saying? But you're limiting your audience, you're limiting everything by staying here.
And I think, because I agree with you with that, and I think what happens with that in many instances, I think artists become afraid if they've generated some attention here that they won't have it somewhere else, and they're afraid to repeat that process.
It's
of going to
crazy.
an empty show.
That's crazy. Because, for me, I hate going to a show and seeing the same people.
Really?
I feel like, what? How am I performing in front of the same crowd? Like, this is not valid. That means that my growth, nothing happened. You know what I'm saying? Nothing changed. If I'm performing in front of the same people I was performing in front of 10 years ago, I don't know. Something got to change. Something got to happen. You know what I'm saying? So when I go to a show, if I'm doing a show in Philly, I don't know nobody. You know what I'm saying? I don't know not one person there besides the people that come from Jersey that is in Philly. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But there's a whole different crowd in Philly. There's a whole different crowd in New York. There's a whole different crowd in LA. You know what I'm saying? And for me, I prefer the different crowd, the new crowd, as opposed to performing in front of people that I've known my whole life.
And I think that's what separates you, because I think that means, at least in my perspective, you're more prepared to do this at a higher level.
Oh, hell yeah. I want to do it at a high level. I want big stages. I want to do way bigger things than what I'm doing right now. You know what I'm saying? I hope everybody feels like that about what they're doing right now, that you can do more. Even if you think that you're doing a lot, there's a lot more to do. Because sometimes I'll be thinking I did a lot. I did a lot already. I've been here 10 years, 12 years, but it's not enough. I feel like there's so much more to do. It's like, how could I ever be content? So nobody should be content. I really want to get those bigger stages. I'm confused about why I don't get bigger opportunities. I'm just going to go outside more and find the people who I got to talk to for those opportunities.
But see, I think your proactive nature in that space is what gives you like your superpower, because like I said, I know artists that like is going into like new audiences and not getting that same love that they used to is a nightmare.
That's crazy.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a nightmare.
I love being the underdog. I'm good with it. I'll be an underdog forever.
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly how you started, right? You started like deficit, and it's like, fuck it.
I never expected nothing. I never expect nobody to even like our shit. So it's like,
right. That's an interesting. I find that so fascinating because, you know how they say sometimes it takes 10 years to be an overnight success.
Yeah, you pay 10,000 hours, right?
Yeah. I just feel like, this is what I was telling you before off camera.
We are definitely at that marker,
at that mark where like the world is finally at the place to properly receive your energy. Because I feel like you've been ahead of it. You know, in the previous interview, like I had mentioned, you were talking about shit that wasn't mainstream conversation, maybe backdoor conversations, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you know, we did that interview in 2019, and then the pandemic hit, and much of what you were talking about, nutrition, vaccines, and all the shit, became main conversations.
Yeah.
It's almost like you were predicting what you saw was happening, but, you know, I don't necessarily, like we had said, it wasn't prediction, it was just you were paying attention.
Yeah. Paying really close attention. But like, if you pay I'm not psychic. You know what I'm saying? I don't play with cards and magic. I just pay attention. So if you know 1 + 1 =, that's what's gonna happen next. You know what I'm saying?
And
it's like
your brain for that is always fascinating me, because I remember when we did the last interview, we walked into your studio off I think it was like Central Ave.
Yeah.
Dream City.
Yeah, that was the other spot.
One of the things that I remember stood out to me clear as day. You had a whiteboard.
Yeah.
Full of all of the
rules,
and the goals.
Yeah.
And in big bold letters was group economics.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you were talking that talk years ago, in a way that I wasn't hearing no one else say that shit.
I tried to, carry that energy wherever I go, but like, I figure if it's on the whiteboard and people are gonna come to my apartment or my studio, or they're gonna come in, they're gonna read this board. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully, whether they accept it or not, it gets into their subconscious mind. Like, oh look, this is here. Do you see this? I've spoken to people about group economics and coming together and putting our money together for common causes and really building things up in that way. It's not easy to implement, But yeah, we definitely were having those conversations of group economics, coming together, utilizing, becoming self-sufficient, independent, and creating our own thing. And not needing outside sources for that. You know what I'm saying? We don't need them, they need us.
Which is the main conversation now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
There's always been that since day one.
For sure. I guess in general, like on your mission.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying in the collective consciousness of the music game.
Yeah, now, right?
Now it's like the main conversation. It's the one everyone is like pushing behind. And that, even that being stated, not everybody's prepared to do that.
Yeah, for sure.
In the way that I think you are. You know what I'm saying? I think, like even right now, your shirt is in the frame. You know what I'm saying? I didn't tell you to do that. You knew to do that.
Yeah.
You already knew to, because besides being an artist and a creative, you are very much a businessman.
Yeah.
And I think I want to shine light on that because I don't think we like to acknowledge, and especially within the music scene, but just in the community, I don't think we acknowledge the businessmen in the culture properly. You know what I'm saying? Because I think the way most people identify as business is like a brick and mortar.
Yeah, I
Right?
feel you.
But they don't really recognize what an individual entrepreneur could look like when it looks like someone that looks like that.
Yeah, I feel that.
You know what I'm saying? And so I just want to acknowledge that I think you've been a great example of what a businessman could be like.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm trying. I as the years went on and progressed, I try to teach myself as much as possible, and I've learned a lot. I was lucky enough, or I don't want to say luck, I want to say, my life brought me to places where I was able to experience certain things and be in certain rooms that maybe some people might not ever be in, or get the chance to talk to certain people, but I've gained experience and information through those situations, you know what I'm saying? So like doing all these interviews, doing all these shows, flying out to LA to have meetings, or like having meetings general in New York or anywhere, speaking to people, it taught me a lot of how to move as an independent, mature adult who has a business, as opposed to being a child who's trying to do a business, but like, I don't know what I'm doing, you know what I'm saying? Like, product placement, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I did things by mistake as a child growing up, like doing, like when we were doing 7 Tribes, I did what I felt, but when I look back at it, I'm like, oh, I see what I did. I created merch, I created this, okay. But I didn't do it with that intent of like, it wasn't well put together in my mind yet, I had to break down my own thing and study myself to recreate it again.
I find it interesting because you had mentioned it earlier. I just want to go through
it. It's like, how did I do that?
Because you were saying how like now when you build your projects, you build it as almost like a master class for how other people can do the same. Can you speak on that?
For sure. So like, when I create a project, it's meant like, I break it down in a way where on Teku tapes, I'm speaking about independence, self-sufficiency on there. I'm making a statement that this is where I'm gonna stand and this is where I'm gonna ride. Whether you listen to the music or not, the way I put the project out, did the USB cassette drive, private invite-only party, which ended up on Teku Tapes release tour, you know what I'm saying, where I go to different spaces and showcase the album, you know what I'm saying? All these things are processes that I was trying to show other artists that they can do in order to make money and be independent and still do things, even if it's $200, $300, $400, you're finding a way to bring money in off of your art and your product by yourself without having to be a part of a major record label or anything like that. So every project I do, I try to do that. I try to come out with something innovative, creative, and a whole process that other people can learn from and utilize themselves. You know what I'm saying? To be honest.